Good evening and welcome to Earth to the Other Side. I'm your host, John Glasspool, and tonight I have a very special guest. His name is Kevin Lutz. He had an NDE back in 2021 in July 13th, where he was stung by a bee. And I will let him tell you the story. Thank you so much for being here, Kevin. It's wonderful to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to tell my story and just to see what you think of what happened to me. But yeah, it was last year. I'm 60 now, but I was 59 at the time, and I had just gotten home. I live out in the country, and I just run some errands. I live about 30 minutes out of town, and my family had been sitting out in the backyard, and so I went back to see them. And while we're sitting there talking around the table, I got stung on my arm right here, and right away I realized, I just saw the thing fly away, and I assumed it was a bee or whatever, and I didn't really think much about it. But I went back inside, and then about 10 minutes later, something was going on. My heart rate had just gone through the roof. I was sweating, flushed. I asked my wife to bring me some Benadryl, and then I took some, but then I just said, you need to call an ambulance because something's serious is going on. And shortly after that, it just happened so fast. I was sitting there on the edge of my bed, and my wife was right beside me, and I literally could just feel the life just draining out of me. Like, I think my blood pressure, my heart was racing so fast. My blood pressure must have just fallen. And I remember looking at my wife and saying, this is really bad. I think I'm going to leave you. And then I was able to tell her, like, I felt so scared, but then I got scared for her. So then I was just able to tell her how much I loved her and everything, which made me feel so great. But then,
okay, I'm sorry. I meant to say thank you to Earth to the Other Side for this video. I really appreciate it. And keep up the great work over on that channel. Check him out. He's a new and up and coming channel, but he's pumping out some really great NDEs. Definitely check him out.
All of a sudden, it was like this tunnel right in front of me, about 6 feet away, 7 feet away, appeared, and my daughter was standing there. And it was about a foot off the ground. It went all the way to the ceiling. It was about 4 feet wide. It had like a gray border going around it. And the border was it was coming out and curling in on itself, like it was churning. Mm-hmm. And I looked up this tunnel, and there's parts where I could kind of see through and like see the wall of the hallway or whatever, but it looked like I could just see way up there, and at the end there was like this bright little thing of light. And I looked at this thing, and I was going to point at it and say to my wife, like, do you see this? But before I could even do that, this thing kind of popped out of me. It was like an oblong diamond-shaped thing. And it was right in front of my face, and it was rotating, and it was kind of reddish in color, but I could kind of see through it.
So see, something's popping out of him. He's seeing it. I'm telling you, this experience, buckle up. It's a wild one.
It looked rigid, but it was solid. And I looked at it, and then all of a sudden it shot towards the tunnel. And that's when I saw that there was like maybe 15, 20 of them, because they all hovered there at the same time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I do have to stop it. But you notice how he says it was solid. Now, this goes to, I know this is like one little tiny example, but the world around us, we do live in some sort of simulated matrix reality that is essentially an illusion. I'm going to rewind it, but so for him to say that it was solid, that's because there is something giving off that illusion. Now, the reason why I'm kind of really pushing this is because think about how when people say that they see their loved ones, even apparitions, like you're sitting there, your mom or dad or your dog died, your cat died, and then all of a sudden they're, walking across the living room floor, and they look vibrant, they look great, but they look like them. And then some people will say that they looked, they look kind of translucent or transparent, but you can see the image of them. So I want you to keep in mind that, this is an interesting case because it shows us that, he's saying it was solid, like a physical material object. But this is something that is an illusion. This is a matrix illusion being provided to him.
It looked rigid, but it was solid. And I was...
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Solar Eyes says solid object shot out of him. Well, that's what he's saying. It looked solid. It had the, I guess, the characteristics of something solid, but it really is. It's not. It's not an actual object. And I just can't see that being possible. It's something being perceived as solid. And it feels very real and authentic to him as it being solid, but it's not. It's a part of a matrix illusion.
I looked at it, and then all of a sudden it shot towards the tunnel. And that's when I saw that there was like maybe 15, 20 of them, because they all hovered there at the same time. And they came out of me. I can't explain it. And then they went into the tunnel. They got sucked in all at once.
Now, they went into the tunnel and they came out of him and they went into the tunnel and they got sucked in. Now, this is going to play an important role, and whoo boy, wait till you hear what he has to say. Just keep this part in mind.
And as soon as that happened, I was like hooked up to this tunnel. Like I could feel this tunnel with every molecule of my body. And I could feel, I couldn't see, but I could feel there was something in that tunnel, and it was going through all those shards, I guess I'll call them. And it had like all my data of my life. And it was going through it. It had everything that I've thought, I've eaten, everything was there. And right at the end of it, it seemed to be going over all my personal feelings. It seemed to be really interested in all the hardships, all the pain that I've carried in my life. It really seemed to be interested in that.
So see, I mean, so basically what we're hearing, guys, this is wild. Like these pieces are coming out of him. They're getting sucked into the tunnel ahead of time. And these things are a representation of his life. It's basically his fragments of his life review. And then what does he say? Oh, well.
Feelings. It seemed to be really interested in all the hardships, all the pain that I've carried in my life. It really seemed to be interested in that.
All the pain, all the hardships. It's really, that's the first thing this damn thing's interested in. Okay. What we got here? Ooh, let me get my hands on that.
What this was, I have no idea. But I know when it was looking through everything, I could tell that it didn't care what race I was, if I was a man or a woman, what I did for a living, how much money I had. All it cared about, it cared that I was a human, and that was all that was important. And it was going through everything in my life. And then it decided to come out. All of a sudden, it started coming out of this tunnel. And it felt like an avalanche of just energy, of love, of everything positive, of an acceptance. Just
okay, so kind of similar to a lot of near-death experiences. Like they go through quote unquote the judgment, even though they'll say there's no judgment. They go through this kind of like, you know, he doesn't really get into too much detail, but by the way he describes it, we see a, you know, okay, it was the pain and the hardships, and then it was, you know, this love bomb type thing. And I just really want to point out an interesting comment that Drones and Other Tones says. He says, maybe it's the loosh. That's a interesting thought. You know, that's a really interesting thought that like maybe they're the, I mean, basically the way I look at these things is they're etheric implants, okay, that are in the depths of someone. Heck, they could even have something to do with the chakra system. I don't know. But, you know, that's an interesting comment, Drones and Other Tones. It's interesting.
Washing all over me. Anyway, what can, like, I couldn't even imagine, like, I couldn't even imagine what was going on. My wife was right beside me. My daughter was right in front of me. Something came out of this tunnel. I couldn't see it, but as it came out, I could see it washing over my daughter's left arm and her body because she was standing right beside it, and it was like rippling. It was like a clear energy. And I don't think I talked to her about it afterwards. She said she didn't feel anything, but I saw it flowing over her. That's the only time I saw it. Anyway, it was in the room. And that's when things kind of darkened for me. My daughter in front of me and my wife beside me, they just disappeared. I was on my own. I was still sitting on the edge of the bed, looking at the tunnel, and about 5 feet over, that's when I noticed that there was something in the room with me. And I kind of looked over to take a look at it. And it was something that was just radiating intelligence. It was just absolutely.
Okay, so it was something radiating intelligence. Now, again, this is, falling under the God category, the all-knowing, all-powerful, and he elaborates on this.
Absolutely. I was like gobsmacked. It was just radiating so much power, so much strength, intelligence. I looked at it and I could see something spinning. And for a second, the spinning stopped and I could actually see what it was. And it was like a little silver gray metallic disc. And then it had rings around it and they all were spinning. And then they started spinning like so fast. And then it seemed to like erect like this really weird kind of wall around it. So I couldn't see it anymore.
So it's like, I don't know, I kind of look at this as like almost like a trolling thing. It's like, oh, what's this thing? Oh, it's all powerful. It's old. It's maybe God. And then it like puts up a wall and says, okay. I don't know. Who knows? I'm just kind of shooting from the hip with this, but it's interesting.
But I could still sense it was there. I could tell it was there because I could feel it with every molecule of my body. I could feel it with my DNA was hooked up to this thing. It was so unreal. And I couldn't see it anymore, thank God, because I think I would have gone insane if I could actually see this thing. But it started coming towards me, and I can't, like, now when I think of it, it probably didn't have a limit on its IQ, and it was old. I could just tell that the age coming off of it was hundreds of billions of years. Like, this thing is old. And right at that time, I kind of realized that, I think I'm looking at God. Like, is this God before me? Like, because.
See, again, how many times do we have to see this and hear it from someone? You know, again, no offense to Kevin or anyone who has a near-death experience and thinks that they met God, but I just don't believe that they're meeting God. I just don't. It's something that is able to portray itself as God, make someone feel like they're dealing with God. But think about how everything unfolded. You got the love bomb involved yet again. It's just, it's the same old, you know, no different.
This is something that is just so huge. Like the love coming from it, it's absolutely perfect.
The love coming from it is absolutely perfect. Again, I know I bring this example up all the time, but it can't be stated enough how mothers will say constantly how it was stronger than the birth of their child. Or someone will say that, you know, the day they got married or anything. You pick, again, the pinnacle of loving moments in your life and multiply that by 10,000, 100,000, a million, whatever. And it cannot compare to a love experienced here on earth. I mean, I know I say it all the time, but you got to drive it home to make, you know, people who are new or kind of on the fence with this manifestation that what we are dealing with is some sort of massive manipulative mechanism, manipulative tool that somehow, some way makes us believe that it is something like a God, like a creator, okay, like the one. And yet what it has in its arsenal is a bag of tricks. It's got love, it's got judgment, it's got sinning, and all these life reviews. It's got all sorts of little bags up its, bags of tricks to dish out. Sorry. And we know nothing about it. It knows everything about us, though. It knows, sure as hell knows everything about us. But it also manipulates us. We have to stop blindly going down the tunnel into the light. We have to. It's the only way to just give ourselves the chance not to fall back into this crap again. Seriously, I think we cannot end up there, guys. We can't. We have to stand our ground in non-interference, sovereignty, and liberation. Please, please, please. Again, like I just put out that short just yesterday or the day before, and I say, you don't have to believe a word I say. Don't discount, if you don't believe the narrative or that's fine. No big deal. I'm not trying to convince anyone. What I am trying to do is say to everyone, okay, listen, we don't know what we're dealing with here. So what is the problem with going the route of non-interference, sovereignty, and liberation? There's nothing wrong with that. And if all this stuff is like it's cracked up to be, then it could wait. If it's all loving and it cares about us and blah, blah, even though it's clearly diametrically opposed to what's actually occurring here, then it can wait, right? Anyone who fights that is just an idiot. I'm sorry, okay? There's nothing wrong with just standing your ground and doing your own thing and seeing what happens by doing that. And then if you want to go fall back into this stuff, go for it. I mean, heck, a lot of this stuff can be wrong that we talk about, but I think we're pretty damn close to seeing what's happening. But don't allow like everyone else to drive you and tell you what to do. You deserve better. You are the king or the queen of your own castle, and nothing should be allowed to tell you what to do or where to go or how to, nothing. Stand your ground. Take care of yourself for once.
Huge. Like the love coming from it, it's absolutely perfect. I can't, I have a hard time explaining it, but it was just like, what we're taught about God and everything. We don't even have a clue, because what this was like what they teach about God and that in the church is like a firecracker going off. What's before me right now is like an atomic, like the biggest atomic bomb being exploded. Like there's no comparison. It's just, I could feel myself, my mind starting to slip, because what I was comprehending was just too much for me. And all of a sudden I get like this message, and it says, do not worship. And that's all it says. And for some reason, this is like a slap to my face. It's like a bucket of cold water being thrown on me. It like sobers me up. And I'm like, and then I seem to get like all this information that's just saying, it cares little for worship. It wants me to live my life, just stuff like that. It was just unreal. And then I get like a vision.
Wants me to live my life, do my own thing.
And all of a sudden, I get like a vision of the earth on my left-hand side. And it's like the earth is right there. And then right before me is like the universe. It's like our entire universe, like right there. And then there's something else on my right side, but I can't remember what it is. My mind won't let me remember, or it's blocked it out. I don't know, but I'm
Aha. Did you hear that, guys? I don't know. My mind won't let me remember. He remembers a lot of other details, right? But you notice how it's right when he is presented with Earth, what did he say on his left?
Something else. It's like our entire universe, like right there. And then there's something else on my right side, but I can't remember what it is. My mind won't let me remember, or it's blocked it out. I don't know, but I'm under.
My mind won't let me remember, or it's blacked out.
Understanding, it's telling me that it's in charge of all of this. It's connected to every single thing on this earth, in this universe, and that this is how it learns, man. It learns through us. It learns through everything, because it's a part of everything.
Because it's a part of everything. It learns through us. Now, some of the craziest new age stuff that we hear is that, we have to come down to, brace yourself. We have to come down to earth because God needs to experience earth through us. Now, seriously, isn't that the most whacked out crap you've ever heard? Come on. So we have to come down here and deal with all this horse shit, this clown show, because God needs us to be his little playthings. And apparently God created this place, and it's a complete dumpster fire filled with atrocities and suffering and all sorts of things. And of course, there's a lot of good too. Come on, you can't be negative all the time. But let's talk about the big picture, guys. Come on, let's get real. Oh, excuse me. It's, anyways, you get my point. We don't need to be coming down here for any god or clown show god. Seriously, what is this God? It's a clown show. You know what it is? In my opinion, a strong opinion, is what we are dealing with some sort of AI. It can't be anything else. It is so sophisticated and it runs like a machine. And really, think about it. Just let's apply some common sense. Common sense. Do you think if there is a God in the first place, some creator of everything and anything, do you think that it's like it's okay? So we have this whole huge, let's just, for lack of a better word, say multiverse. Do you think that God is just chilling at the light at the end of the tunnel, like 24/7? Like it doesn't have anything else better to do? Really, is that what's going on? I mean, come on, guys. Come on. I mean, really, I mean, we've been hoodwinked for so long. We just need to stop with just blindly going along with the show constantly. It's ridiculous.
Through us, it learns through everything because it's a part of everything. And I think when I first saw that spinning molecule or something, for some reason, I get the message that this is like, that this molecule is like in everything. It's what connects the whole universe. It's so weird. So anyway, I can kind of see an outline.
Okay, so like when, you know, I've heard other cases similar, like where they say, you know, everything's connected and, you know, it's all part of the universe and stuff like that. Like, but what if that is what is perceived here, guys, right? Think about it. Like, seriously, what if, yeah, maybe, okay, because if everything is connected, then it maybe, I mean, this is just an assumption, but you would think that it kind of all roots back to one source, and kind of that one source kind of stems out and, you know, spreads itself throughout the multiverse, okay, in all these different realms. But what if what NDEers and all these other experiences are going through are just perceiving, yeah, everything's connected, but it's connected within the overall confines of the matrix? We don't know if any of that is absolutely accurate outside of this system. See, so many questions that don't get asked, don't even, much less considered. And we just need to think bigger. We really do. We can't think so limited, like in terms of, oh, everything is one and we're connected and this, that. You know, maybe that's the case. Maybe. I'm not saying it isn't, but why assume? We can't assume that's the case. A good matrix, a good parasitic matrix like what we're in now, would want us to feel like that is the case. Maybe where people go when they experience the light and they think is God and it's all knowing and it's all, like he says, it's old, it's been here for a while, then maybe that's like us plugging into the AI, like a direct connection, and then like we're kind of boom, like enhanced, and then we feel like everything is connected, but it's all part of the trick. Seriously, that I could see something like that being the case. But what is it outside of the whole matrix? That's the big question. What, you know, how does it all play itself out in other realms, other universes? Just saying.
In everything, it's what connects the whole universe. It's so weird. So anyway,
it's weird.
I can kind of see an outline. I'm getting a projection of these three things. The third thing I can't tell. And I get a little impression of the outline of what I think is before me, which I guess is God, but I don't know what this is before me. It's so big. And I kind of look into it and I can see, it's like I kind of fall into it. It's like falling into like a giant cloud. And there's like these bursts of blue, like electricity, like coming up towards me. And I tell you, man, you could just get, I could have just floated in that forever. But then all of a sudden, that is gone away. And there is something else like right there before me, and it's staring at me. And it's like, it's like so humbling because it's like the universe looking at me, and I'm like with everything that's going on, this universe so big, like this thing has time to have to, you know, for insignificant me, you know, like anyway, this thing and this thing's not God. I don't know what this is, but it starts coming towards me, and as it does, it looks like just multiple like eyes, I guess, and they're kind of spinning. But as they are concentrating on me, they're kind of opening me up, it seems. It's releasing my soul. This is what's going on. And all of a sudden, it just comes down to like one big eye looking at me. And there is my soul, like coming out of my body. And it looks like a little piece of gold, like rough, and it's just floating there, and a little tendril of gold goes up towards this eye. And then the next thing I know,
All right, 1 minute.
Towards this eye, rough, and it's just floating there, and a little tendril of gold goes up towards this eye.
Towards this eye. It floats up towards this eye, like maybe the all-seeing eye. I mean, you know what I just went through about, I don't know, maybe like 3 weeks ago. I went through the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy. And, you know, the one causing all the bullshit is the eye, the one-eye symbolism. Sitting and perched up on this mountain, this fiery eye. And it's directing all this chaos in Middle Earth. So what if maybe he experienced a little bit of that? Not necessarily saying like Lord of the Rings, but something similar. Because we know the one-eye symbolism is ridiculously saturated here on Earth and is worshipped to the hills. And there's a reason for that.
A little piece of gold, like rough, and it's just floating there, and a little tendril of gold goes up towards this eye. And then the next thing I know,
it's a wild experience, isn't it, guys? It's wild.
The next thing I know, I'm in the tunnel. I'm not my body anymore. I know I'm not my body. But it feels like me, and it feels like I have my body. But I know it's just my soul and my consciousness, and we're in this tunnel. And it doesn't feel, I know I'm moving so fast, and it seems like I'm moving like away from Earth, like, and I'm going an incredible distance really fast. But as myself, it doesn't really feel like I have the sensation of movement. And then it seems like my perception expands, and I can kind of tell where I'm at, and I'm inside, and it's almost like a water balloon. And on the outside of it, I can feel information, but it's not something I can touch, or it's like, it feels like it's static, but it's not. It's moving, and it's moving super fast over the layer of this water balloon I'm in.
Interesting, isn't it? This is just such a mind-blowing NDE. I mean, let's just listen to this part one more time and try and see what could possibly be going on. So like so he's in a water balloon. Information is kind of trailing around him really fast. And
but it's not something I can touch, or it's like, it feels like it's static, but it's not. It's moving, and it's moving super fast over the layer of this water balloon I'm in.
Hey, Peter.
And then I kind of snap back into where I'm at, and everything comes into perception, and I tell that I'm like way far away from this thing, and I'm floating there. And I could be a mile from it. I could be 10,000 miles. I don't know. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's like it's flattened and it's kind of curved. And the light that's coming out is like the light is being flattened. And that's the other thing I should tell you. Like I'm in this dark cave, and there's no light on me. All I can see is this light down there, but it's all trapped at the bottom of this thing. And I think this was a black hole.
So there's a lot of light at the bottom. It's almost like he's in a void-like realm. Void state. Because a lot of the, especially a lot of the hell-like NDEs, they can experience the void, and I think because so many come from this super sensory experience that we have, that when they are kind of met with something like a void, it's a big shock to people. So some people can experience something and it'll be very negative, while others will be like, okay, nothing wrong with this. I'm just here chilling. So it's almost like he's in this void-like state. And with the negative NDEs, a lot of times there's always that, you know, they could be getting their ass kicked left and right. But there's always something like a light in the far distance, or something that if they put their intention or attention to, that will kind of ease their mind, soothe them for a moment, and then they go right back to getting their ass kicked again. But eventually they, you know, usually go to the light and end up with a total switch in experiences. Now, but he's like in this and he's looking down, and he kind of is comparing it to a black hole, which, you know, make of that what you will. But it maybe it's kind of yeah, like a portal. Could be something that leads back to Earth. We don't know.
There, but it's all trapped at the bottom of this thing. And I think this was a black hole that was transporting me from this realm to the other. That's the only thing I can think of everything that, anyway, but all of a sudden I was just immersed in this white light. It felt like every emotion, it just felt like I was being stretched, like in a million different, and it felt so uncomfortable, and I was being stretched, pulled, and
I was being stretched, pulled. So something is trying, in my opinion, trying to like fragment him. I mean, how else can it be really interpreted? I mean, of course, that's just what I'm assuming, but it feels like, hey, give me your fragments. How dare you find your essence once again? We don't want you to. Maybe, I don't know.
Stretched, pulled, and I got up to the point where I was going to cry out, like, why? Like, let me in. Like, I don't know. And then, bam, I was in. I was on the other side, and I was floating there. And the first thing that came to my mind was I was home. And I don't know why. That's the first thing. You're home. And I'm floating there, and it's like I'm in space. And to my right, there's like this column of gold. It's shaped like this, and it's huge, far away. And I'm floating there, and it's like I'm in space.
There, listen.
And to my right, there's like this column of gold. It's shaped like this, and it's huge.
Column of gold, and it's huge. I mean, really, the column thing. Here we go again with columns. He doesn't say, oh, it's like Greco-Roman or whatever. No, he doesn't say that. But here we go again with the columns appearing. You know, I wish we got a little more detail on it. I'd actually really like to speak with Kevin, and I may try to reach out to him if I can find his information. And if any of you run across his information, please email me. I'd greatly, or leave a comment after the video. I'd greatly appreciate it. But yeah, just such a mind-blowing
and I'm
case.
Floating there, and it's like I'm in space. And to my right, there's like this column of gold, and it's shaped like this, and it's
more
huge,
columns,
far away. I'm like floating in the universe. There's all these white lights.
All these white
and I
lights.
zero in, and I zero in the one closest to me, and I can see it's like there's like a pattern to it. I realize it's a soul. I realize I'm a soul. I know what I look like.
This is gonna blow your mind, guys.
Like I'm not human formed or whatever. I'm like soul shaped now, I guess. But this other soul that's closest to me, I look at it, and I can tell it's not the same as me. Like it's something different. And I think, is this like an alien? And that just didn't seem right. And this is where this is like we're super far out.
No, it's not. It's not, Kevin.
But anyway, I recognize it as a machine soul. This is like a robot.
Hear that? It's like a machine soul, like a robot, like a freaking NPC. I mean, how much have we been talking about on this channel? How these are mechanisms put in place that are like an AI. And here he is admitting it. We're getting it right from the horse's mouth. And he's saying, oh, you're going to think it's crazy. It's not crazy, Kevin. This system that we are in is run by some sort of crazy AI. It was not, you're not crazy at all, my friend.
But anyway, I recognize it as a machine soul. This is like a robot, a self-aware robot that has died, but has carried on to the other side, and I thought to myself, how could that be possible? And then a female voice speaks to me.
How could that be possible? He's having a realization that, oh, this is like, you know, some self-aware robot. And then all of a sudden, ding, 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 the voice from arrives. Oh, we gotta, Mayday, Mayday, we gotta get Kevin in line here. It's just like, really, it's so, okay.
And then a female voice speaks to me and says, well, think of it this way. She starts talking to me. I realize this is my guide. I have a guide. I have somebody that's telling me, that's going to tell me stuff. And I realize I'm totally surrounded by, like, in this universe, I'm totally surrounded by information.
This is a guide. Or at least let's assume it's a guide. Okay? A guide that is like a robot. Okay? These are automated systems, just like with people who experience pre-birth memories. I most of the time, I do not think that they are dealing with true essence beings that actually have an essence. It's an automated piece of machinery that it just keeps going and going and going and going. And it's like a conveyor belt. Okay, next. Time for you to go to Earth. Okay, here's your, here's some options for your life script and yada, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And then it just goes on and on and on. I mean, now, can we say with any certainty that Kevin was dealing with a soulless being? No. But I find it interesting how when he started to question things, all of a sudden, here's the voice.
Tell me stuff.
And it happens to be his guide.
And I realize I'm totally surrounded by, like, in this universe, I'm totally surrounded by information. Like, I know that there is whatever I want to know, whatever's happened in this universe, I know it's in here. I don't know how I know this, I just know it. Anyway, this female voice starts talking to me and just says, well, think of it this way. You think, you know, when you're, it doesn't matter if you're, what did she say? It doesn't matter if you're biological or machine, you're going to get to some point in your existence where you're going to become self-aware, and you're going to look into the universe and you're going to wonder, who am I? What am I? And it says it's going to be no different than a machine. And that machine is going to, when it becomes aware, it's going to have the same kind of thoughts, or not the same kind of thoughts, but it's going to have the same kind of wonders when it looks out into the universe. Like, what is this all about? Like, what does this mean, kind of deal?
Yeah. And we are purposely firewalled off from finding ourselves. It takes so much effort, so much for us to break through the programming, break through the BS. It is criminal how much effort it takes to find yourself here, to ask the big questions and actually feel comfortable with some of the answers, and think about the bull that is spit out to us at a young age, or depending on, you know, what religion you may grow up in, or what country, or what village or tribe. And then this crap goes on out there on top of it. If non-interference, sovereignty, and liberation is a cult, sign me up. Because I am sick of seeing that bullshit. I mean, people have no clue what we are dealing with. No clue. This is a massive problem.
It's amazing because the way you describe your experience, it sounds it's quite unique. It's not like anything I've ever heard before, but at the same time, it kind of, I could parallel it to, you know, what's referred to as a life review. You know, it seems like all those information downloads that you were given, they kind of unfolded sequentially, right? Or were they all out of order, or did it even matter? You just were sort of given everything at once.
No, everything, like I was hooked up. It seemed like I was hooked up to something, and I had no control of what information was given to me, but I kind of had a general knowledge of things. The information would come so fast, and that's why, like, afterwards, like 5 days into this, after this thing, it was like on Sunday, and that was the thing, my mind, man, it took.
This is just getting so bad. The mic failed, the camera failed. It just said I had a power surge in my USB port.
Like I was hooked up. It seemed like I was hooked up to something, and
It seemed like I was hooked up to something. Hooked up to something.
Like I was hooked up. It seemed like I was hooked up to something, and I had no control of what information was given to me, but I kind of had a general knowledge of things. The information would come so fast, and that's why, like, afterwards, like 5 days into this, after this thing, it was like on Sunday, and that was the thing, my mind, man, it took like a good week for me to get my mind clear.
Right.
Because I guess just from the shock or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But 5 days afterwards, I just had to start writing stuff down, because I couldn't keep things kept just like, man.
Incredible. And you felt a lot. You had mentioned that you felt a lot of emotions. And did you feel anything like from other perspectives, like emotions in particular situations? but not from your perspective, but somebody else's. Do you know what I mean?
No, I felt emotion from whatever this, I guess, what this cosmic being or whatever, like when it was having the patience with me and stuff like that. But no, all the emotions, yeah, it was all from it. I was just immersed in a blanket of
Just immersed in a blanket. It was all coming from this being. I mean, he just keeps admitting over and over and over again, you know, how he is under this thing's spell. He's not saying that, but that's what we're hearing. So please, please, please don't discount the importance of what's being conveyed here.
whatever this, I guess, what this cosmic being or whatever, like when it was having the patience with me and stuff like that. But no, all the emotions, yeah, it was all from it. I was just immersed in a blanket of just love and acceptance and everything positive, nothing negative, you know, and
I was immersed in a blanket. Nothing positive, nothing negative, everything positive. I was immersed in a blanket. What's that? That's basically like they are being taken over. Something is controlling them.
like I just don't, and that's my biggest thing that I've thought about ever since is like I think, you know, like for me, I'm not like I'm not a saint, I'm not a criminal or anything, but have I made mistakes in my past? For sure. Have I stolen stuff? Yeah, you know, you know, but I'm not a criminal. You know, I've worked my whole life and stuff like that. But when I was younger, I did stuff, and but I know that I've always been a good father to my kids, and I've been like a good person. Like, and the thing I'm trying to say is this death experience. It seemed like it was customized just for me, and I think every other person has their own way to get to the same place. You know what I mean?
Exactly, because it's a set of mechanisms, Kevin. You said it yourself, and in the top leading researchers on near-death experiences will say time and time again, and I'll say what I see too, is that everything is customized to the individual. It is meant, or it is set up that way so that you fall in line, that you're easier prey. So why does it take those fragments from Kevin in the beginning and use them against him? Because it's got an agenda. It's got something that it wants to do. It's trying to continue to win Kevin over in whatever way possible. You know, Kevin may be dying, Kevin may be not. And so the Matrix takes these fragments out of Kevin, and in turn, it has everything it needs. It analyzes all this data and implements something like a life review. And as Kevin said himself, it was very interested in his pain and hardships.